do roll call. We're in here. David Wise.
Here.
There. You want this one? Patty Wall.
Here.
Rob Amy.
Here.
Granny.
Here.
And guest. Guest.
Yes.
Here is March meeting minutes, since we didn't have one for April. And I have the one to sign.
So they went to 5.9 on the ambulance unit?
Yes, and it's still up in the air. When I talked to him the other day, they're pretty sure it's gonna be lower than that.
Okay, but that's not prime, so that's better, better than prime.
We're getting government.
I think it's,
so-
I think it's 7% right now. So
Yeah, by the time that we pull it,
hopefully it'll be down even further.
he was hoping to be under 5. I don't know if we'll hit it or not, but we'll see what happens.
Who's this from?
What?
This ambulance?
Well, the ambulance is from PennCare, but it's a MedX ambulance.
Have you ever seen them? Really nice.
They make good buses.
Hmm.
They make good buses, most places.
Buses are yellow, don't do that, never do that, cause I've been on a bus route. And Jason,
Yep.
Jason Quimby's yelling at me, I need 2 more buses. So I brought him 2 more school buses. He wanted 2 ambulances. I said, this is not the time to, I said, bus to me is a big yellow thing.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the April meeting or March meeting.
I will second that motion.
A motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. I don't know who's up for signing.
Well, they'll.
Which truck,
Okay.
which truck needs to be fired?
That'll be before they do it.
That'll be for that's everything.
Correct.
That's,
So we got that. We'll put in one for April that we didn't have a meeting, so that'll cover April's. Thank you. I got a list, believe it or not. I didn't think I had anything, and Amy and I just kept talking and I kept writing. So, on here for March 11th, we had down 105 calls. To date, we're at 334 for EMS and fire runs total. So in 2 months, we've done 229 runs. I have signed all ALS agreements with East Madison, the city of Anderson, and the city of Alexandria. So those are all, have been signed and sent back to them. So those are all on file with everybody, and I have a file running on them. To date, as of yesterday, when I inputted it, we're at 23 assistants for the year, and getting worse. Amy and I went to an ITA state training that's mandated every 2 years. We went last week for an all-day training, and they advised us that we can no longer limit how much money we can help people with assistance on.
Really?
Yeah, so,
so it can't be budgeted?
So we still have to stay within our budget, but you cannot tell, if somebody comes in for poor relief and there's an emergency, you cannot limit them, like their bill's $3,500, you can't say, well, our township guidelines will allow us to give you $800. You cannot limit those.
This is not, that's not good.
no, it's not good at all.
So we've been trying to get with Debbie to figure out where, because she said, oh, well, if you need more money, you just have to have it put in the budget. Okay, well, where does that come from? And she never responded.
Yeah, she said you get more and there's other sources, and they wouldn't give us see other sources, and I'd emailed her, with no luck. Cause right now I'm sitting on 3 that are very substantial, and one of them's over $3,700, and I just,
Is that
I was afraid.
rent or what?
they want rent, gas, and electric. I don't
Nobody-
know,
I mean, are they older people?
they haven't put their application in yet, so I'm still waiting on it. I don't know how far behind they are, and so I don't know if that's several months, or if that's a month, or, I don't know, so I'm really at a loss.
They better find us
Yeah.
someplace cheaper.
Yeah, so we learned.
Well, and that's one of the things that they told us, when we do this, we have to sit down and have a budget talk with them, and if, like I have one now that their income is $1,950 a month is what they get. $1,490 a month is what they get. Their house payment's $1,355.
Oh, my goodness.
That's
They
a
probably
lot
have,
more than mine.
Says they haven't paid their car payment since November. And they still have a car.
and they
So,
still have a car?
Yeah.
Oh, I can't believe that.
I
They gotta
don't,
set
I'm really
them.
at a loss as to how we're gonna help these people now. When they said we can't tell them, I don't remember, it was Center Township, but I don't remember where they said Center Town, what. That told them they don't have money in their budget to assist that person. Well, they went to the courts and it did the judgment against it, the denial, and they awarded it for the person that got denied, and they said, figure it out, you find the money.
Yes.
So if we have zero money in our budget, and somebody comes in and needs, even if they just needed $100, I can't say, well, our budget's spent for the year, we can't help.
That
We
hurt-
have to-
that-
I don't,
That hurts us more than I
I
can imagine.
mean-
If
Yeah,
that gets-
I'm at a
if that-
loss.
If that were to get out,
Oh, yeah, and they told us that we can't, deny mortgages, that if somebody wants, we cannot refuse a mortgage payment. The only thing that they kinda gave us a little bit of, I guess, direction on was that if these people come in and ask him for assistance and they require 90 days of pay stubs, then he can go through those and say, okay, well, this is where they're spending their money. And so then you can give them a disclosure that says, in order for us to help you in the future, you have to stop spending money here, or you have to cut expenses here, or you need to pick up a second job. But then picking up second jobs, there's now pay stub generators, so they can fake income for jobs.
So they kind of give us, what, half a dozen,
They did.
that, I can't think of the township over there, that for that area, they hire, retired police officers that come in and investigate all their stuff. You know, our budget's not anywhere near for that kind of money.
Even these ADP pay stubs
Yeah.
right here, these are fake.
well, you know, what's brought a lot of this on is
What?
some of these trustees that have kept their money and got it way up high, and then they're looking at everybody.
Right.
And it's not fair to the people that has tried to keep the things low and stay within their budget.
And I would have to go back and look, but I think rental, we were like $1,800 left last year, and I think the utilities, there was
We were doing-
$700 or
we were doing
$900 was all
good.
was left. And I kept it at the $800 limit, where we had it set.
So we can do limits, which people thankfully don't come in and ask us to assist with food. Otherwise, we can do, I don't remember the
what they say.
guidelines for food.
Yeah.
And then burials, we can give, caps on those, but it's based off of the Medicaid guidelines, that's what it is.
So what happened to all the other resources where you could recommend them to go?
Like
to-
ICAP or the Salvation Army, those
Yeah,
things that
and all
make.
that kind of
Churches.
stuff. What happened to all that?
They've been hit so hard, they've set an amount, and once that amount's gone,
They're done.
well,
But they're private, so they can
everybody's-
do that.
Everybody's budgeted an amount, and it's,
Right.
they're
But
exceeding.
you know, we're funded by taxpayers.
Mhm.
I mean,
And
I don't suppose everybody got their Forms 11, like my house value went up $20,200 for next year.
For,
for taxes.
for your
For
taxes.
taxes.
mine went up too.
Well, that was my question when I emailed Debbie Driscoll. I said, okay, how do we find more money? What are my other resources? My budget was cut last year. I don't remember, 1 or 2%. We asked for 5, I think we got 3.5 or 3 or whatever it was. And now you're telling me we have to be creative on how we handle this. They basically said if you come in and say, I'm on disability, I can't work because of this medical condition. If you don't provide me the documentation from the doctor, I can deny you for that. But I can't deny you because.
But he has to
for
write that
anything
out,
else.
cause
Yes.
you're, now
I have to have a copy of that.
because we're getting in, so it's almost like a script. Because if he gives out, you get on that release of info, help me, HIPAA.
Well, that's what was brought up too. They said it's not a HIPAA violation because you're providing it to me.
Yes.
We asked, and if they don't provide it, then we can deny
Say
it
they're
because you're not
non-compliant.
being non-compliant, supplying the data needed to process the account.
Amy, what'd you say about those were fake? You said something.
Oh, I just
Oh,
said,
yeah,
I was
it's-
showing you this ADP one because it looks really legit, but it is fake, it is not real.
It doesn't go toward, that's not ours though, right?
No, these are ones that were actual pay stubs that they got from
Yeah,
people
this is
that,
not a real pay stub.
whether they're missing bank accounts or some of them didn't have a check number. A lot of them didn't have local tax. There's a pay stub generator that's on the computer. He said there's 2 or 3 websites you can go on there and create your own. He said, but when you look at them, they'll have state, federal, and something else withholding, but 99 times out of 100, none of them have local taxes taken out of them. He said, so that's your first red flag.
That's,
Oh my goodness. So,
how'd they find this?
You can go to, I wrote it on, I think on the front page, you can go to a check stub generator and the fee is $29.99.
No, I mean,
How did they find it?
yes.
Because they have investigators, so they have, their trustee's office has 15 employees. And out of those 15 employees, one of those, if not more of those, is
They
an
have two-
investigator.
they have
And
2,
they sit, so you go in, when you go in for a township assistant, you have a face-to-face interview with one person, and they kind of write down general information. Then you go to another person, and you're given your application, and then these are the requirements for your application. So you have to have 3 months worth of income, we need to know your expenses, you have to have proof of residency, your driver's license, all those things. But because they require all those things, people have gotten really good at creating fraudulent ones. So then, once those applications come in, they are given 72 hours, and so then they pass them off to an investigator. An investigator will look at the paperwork, and then, I don't know how often he goes to the residences, but he did go follow up on, he would go to the residences to see that the material on their application matched. Because townships, I mean, we know, but the budgets are not built to help every single person that comes in and wants $3,000 worth of help. So
But
now
they've
they're,
always thought that.
they're hiring investigators.
That's why
to-
I'm
there's a handful that do.
That's why I've
To
asked
follow
you
up on
several
it.
times
Now-
what our, because
Well, with our limits, we were good.
When
I had that
somebody
variance, but
turns in a fraudulent application, you can only, the consequence is 90 days suspension from applying again. So once that 90 days is passed, they can reapply it.
did you talk to any other trustee yet about it?
We, just the ones that are tabled.
I didn't know if maybe we could pull together or pay a person that does theirs, ours,
Oh, an investigator?
and an investigator.
I don't know that anybody else does it.
Well, they're gonna have
They
to
employ,
probably.
they employ Fisher, whatever that is, or I can't think of it.
Well, that's Delaware Township. Center Township is near Kokomo.
Kokomo. But Delaware Township employs 2 retired Fisher's detectives, and that's all they do.
Oh, it's ridiculous, I don't care what you say.
Yeah. So we're kind of at a loss.
I'm in a loss right here when we're talking about spending it with their, you know,
I know we have,
that puts a big dent in everything. I mean, that's
Right.
a big question mark.
Mhm.
well, I need to go, I can go back in there and look, but I think our utility budget is down around 12,000 for the rest of the year. If if that's the case, and I told her, I said, if that's the case, we'll be out of money by August or September. So,
When did this
really
come?
scary.
So this is all new.
Yep,
This was in a bill that they passed in somewhere.
could very well be.
I probably stuck it on something else, and slipped through, like everything else down there at the state.
Well, you look, you see what they gotta read, you know they don't sit there and read all that.
No. That should not be a.
So it gets snuck in there.
So I'm gonna have to get more creative
Just need
on,
to get up from.
they require 90 days of pay stubs, 90 days of bank statements. And the ones that tell me they don't have a bank statement, that could be a form of denial because you're not supplying me
Information
the
I
information
need.
needed.
But this may be in a way, we're paying out more money, but it may be in a, nah, I'm stupid. I'm just thinking maybe it'd be more of a deterrent, for some to.
Well, the deterrent's gonna be
Show
if
me
you don't
this.
give me all this information,
You don't get it, so
deny it.
that might be a deterrent, because some of them don't have it,
Right.
or just too damn lazy to get it for you.
Well,
Well, 9 out of 10 of them tell me, oh, I don't have a bank account.
Once it gets out, because the community, these people know each
they
other.
probably can't, because they don't know how to handle one.
Well,
But I
But-
mean, this community talks. I mean, people talk like, that do get aid.
most of mine come from the same areas, so,
Mhm.
the same street, the same apartment complex.
So they're gonna know,
Yeah.
cause,
I mean, I don't mind the elderly people that's down and out, and all they're doing is living on social security, and hopefully they'll still get social security. But when we have these people that, I just can't work, well, give them something to do.
Yeah, well, and I've had several with, and you know where we're talking about. I can't find a job.
oh, there's
You're not
jobs.
looking.
You can because you live within walking distance to 4 fast food restaurants.
Right.
5
They hire all the time.
that are,
If
and
they're
the
paying
dollar
for their
store.
car payment, then they can get,
Most of, and half of them tell you they don't have a car, so that's the next thing you gotta
Well, you
figure
can,
out.
or
Well,
get your
Steve-
bicycle.
Steve was here one day, and he had to see somebody about poor payment. They pulled up in a really nice car, not beautiful, 2 cartons of cigarettes on the dash, and I thought, and then they had a nicer cell phone than me. And I was like, and then it was in there, she was asking Steve for help for their rent and stuff.
Come in, their nails are all done.
Yeah. I do know that the one person who was sitting at our table with us said, this, you know, whatever, I can't refuse them, but her stipulation was she was going to find free budgeting workshops, and so she was gonna give them assistance and then say, in order for you to apply for assistance again, you have to come back with proof
Can
that you
we do
attended.
that?
Yes,
Yes.
you can tell them.
See, that's
We have
another,
to find the program.
but I mean, that's another thing that they're not gonna want to
They're
do.
not gonna do it.
Yep, so and that's just to, they'll come in and apply once, and you help them once, and then you tell them that they have to do something to benefit themselves.
And that's it.
Yep, and then maybe you don't see them again. So, but
More likely
initially,
you won't see them.
right,
Hopefully.
initially though, and then she said that they get these township, they hop from township to township to get assistance. So once
How can they do, how
How
can
can
they do
they
that? How they
do
do that
that?
where you got a residency, don't
Why
you?
can't you refuse them if they don't live in your township?
Can't, but you have to prove that they don't live. See, a lot of them will, one of those example was the girl had just been there a few weeks, but she was also behind over here, and she falsified her, application. And the guy over there said, well, I've gotten really good with the people that we deal with all the time. They literally give him her application, and what she wrote down was totally different than one of those pay stubs that was in there. It was, I think she had $1,300 a month is what she put for an income, but in order to get the apartment, she put $3,000 or $5,000 a month is what she was making.
Knew that she couldn't pay for it to begin with.
Yeah. So she knows, well, I can squeeze by this month and they'll help me the next month.
And then the
however long it
apartment
takes to get through that.
complex,
Are a lot of them on Medicaid also and Medicare and or is that their only
That's
assistance?
not even
You
question.
can't ask that,
That's
can
not a
you?
question on it.
That's the trouble, there's been too much handout for so many years and they've learned the system, you
Yeah.
know?
So
Yeah.
when I said that they jump from township to township, what I was meaning is that once they run out of their resources, like they know that they can't go back to that township to get assistance without doing whatever,
They move.
yes, they'll move to the next township and get a rental and do it all over again.
Here I work and I'm 83 years old.
And then the rental
Makes me
companies,
sick.
they don't help
These
either.
people,
And
it's too lazy to go out
I'd do
and
anything to
work.
be, to work.
I had a woman 2 or 3 weeks ago that asked me, well, what do you do? I said, what do you mean, what do I
Which
do?
job do you wanna know?
She said, well, how many jobs do you work? I said, I work 4. She goes, how do you work 4? I said, I make myself work 4. I don't have time to sit around. Now granted, one of them's volunteer being here on the fire department, but that's not the point. You still fit it into your time. And she was just done about it. Well, I can't imagine working 4 jobs. Well, you gotta do what you gotta do to live.
You want nice things, you
I
gotta
always
learn to
have.
pay for them.
Right. So, those are some of the great things that we just learned this last week.
Well, that's a hell of a way to start the week, you know?
Yeah, so, it's a kick in the teeth, which is kind of what all of us were looking at each other at the table like. And the one guy said, he asked us how many we had, and I thought we had like 19, which we weren't, 18 or 19, which we weren't far off, because I think I've got 3 this week. He's like, I've done 2. He said, I've done 2 so far for the year. It's like, I wouldn't know what to do myself
Well,
with
he
2.
must be a township full of farmers.
I don't know what I don't know
Around
where he
us,
said he was from.
Trailer
I
courts.
don't remember, but his
Yeah.
township is small enough that he's still able to work out of his home.
Yes. So. But, yeah, so, on down my list, bear or bad news. I
There's
guess,
something gonna do like these other little townships that, like, that we, Jackson and,
Yeah,
Jacksonville and
well, and
Elk Creek, they don't have this kind of problem.
well, but
well, I
they
mean.
was Pipe Creek, $200 once a year is all you get. So now I don't know what they're
I
gonna
was
do
gonna
now.
say that was.
The city of Anderson, I was told it's either $50 or $75, no matter what you owe, is all they help you with,
Really?
one time a year.
Wonder if they'll try to stick to it.
I-
I mean, until the word gets out.
Right, and they were talking, there've been several of them that have
Research.
taken them to court and
And if you know
contested
where
it,
this
so.
came from, I might do a little bit, like a little, just digging to see where this come from.
Yeah, and I don't know when it took effect, whether it was
You know, what
January
bill
1 or
or-
what, but,
You know, what did they do?
and it's probably in the packet of stuff we have, it's not that
Cause we
big,
got a
so.
new governor. He passed some things
It's
that,
in my plan.
that is good for the territories and,
Mhm.
Well, they did talk some about territories too, I don't remember what they said about that.
Well, they said that was gonna be its own little train,
Oh,
so,
never mind.
not really looking forward to that one, probably will go. Right now, I don't want any part of that, but, I don't know if I need to ask, but I wanted to see if it was okay with you guys if I started getting quotes to fix the driveway. I don't know if you've come in, felt like you're gonna jar your teeth loose when you turn in the driveway, but in the fire truck or the ambulance, it's real bad. I know when I priced get the entrance fixed to get rid of the rough hump last year from E&D, it was like $17,000 or $18,000 for them to come in 4 feet. Either 4 or
Just to
6
do-
feet,
just
all
to
the way
do the-
coming back in.
just to do the approach.
Yeah. It's like I didn't want an estimate on doing the whole driveway, I just needed that fixed. He's like, well, that's, I think it was either 4 or 6 feet.
There's Baumgartner, there's,
So I'm gonna call just
Yeah.
start throwing it out there, and if it's not feasible, it's not feasible. But I'm just afraid it's gonna get to the point where we're gonna have to do it.
The town of Franklin's going with a company called Case.
Okay?
And
They said they considerably cheaper than E&B, that's why they're doing all
Yeah.
the paving. things.
Baumgartner did Franklin at one time, and it was cheaper than E&B.
Case.
Case.
So I don't
See if
know,
I can.
I think Baumgartner's in Tipton,
I don't know whether out of or anything,
and that,
but I heard them say that.
and that's a cheap, I mean, You're wanting to do the whole driveway or the approach?
I don't think anything over here needs to be done unless it's just we just gotta do it. But if you go out there and look at it from the trucks coming in and out all the time, it's starting to really break down, especially at the entrance.
So really, we need the approach, yeah.
It's pretty bad. It's pretty rough coming in and out. Especially if you're in the back of the ambulance.
Can we move to get, more quotes on that?
I'm just gonna I'm gonna start calling, I'm gonna make a list, start calling down and see how many will actually show up. And see if we get some ideas, and, I mean, it may just not be feasible, but if we know it's $5,000 or $50,000, at least we can say, okay, yeah, we're gonna put this off or try and reappropriate something from somewhere else. So, the only other thing other than this one that I have, I talked to Tony Crum today about the ambulance. I was thinking we were gonna be September. He's saying we're slated for early July now for delivery.
Really?
That's
So,
quick.
like, that kind of caught me really off guard, cause I'm thinking, I got till September and I don't have to be in a big rush. So now I've gotta figure all that out. I told Clayton today to get us an idea what it's gonna cost to completely outfit it on the inside.
What are we gonna do with the other two?
So, one way or another.
What numbers are they? I can't remember.
33 and 34.
Okay.
Is Edgewood still interested, do you know? No.
Yeah, because they got one, didn't they?
Well, they were wanting to replace their old.
They were, but they were just okay with running one.
And they're getting hit with the same, no, they're a town,
They are town, yeah.
so they don't have to,
Right.
I don't know if they do poor relief or not.
Not to my knowledge.
I think all towns still have to do a little bit of it, I'm not sure.
But if you
I
look
don't
at
know.
Anderson, you said what, 50 or 500?
Yeah. The town of Franklin sends them all to me. They send it to Pike Creek if it's on this side, and they send it to me if it's on this side, so they don't help with anything.
So Patty, I don't know if you can answer this question, I've reached out to a few people, and Corey's reached out to a few people. We had the meeting to, oh gosh, I've lost my notes.
So we had the meeting to be able to incur the debt
Yes,
about getting the ambulance. We did the posting, we did the meeting, we did the however many meetings here for it. It went to the courthouse,
we have
It's
no
set there.
remonstrances.
no remonstrances. So.
We have the amortization, possible amortization schedule. Do you know
It'll change,
what
but-
kind of, when we have our budget meeting in July, do you know what line item we should request to put that under? Is it, like a capital assets, or is it equipment?
Just create one.
Do you know?
We still have the one for the building, but I think it says building debt,
Yeah.
so I don't know if it's.
And you're gonna create a debt for it,
Mhm.
so you probably need to specify what it's for, but.
So ambulance and equipment debt maybe?
Equipment or,
Equipment, vehicles,
yeah.
apparatus.
Okay.
So Lisa asked me to ask you, she was tied up with her pool thing, she thought she was gonna make it, but she told me to ask you about the ambulance and the money. Since we've got all that, is there another step that we're missing? Do we need to do anything else? She said to make sure that you knew that it's, nothing's coming out of lit, nothing's coming out of regular budget money. I've asked, Judy at the DLGF, and she said that's not hers. I can't get anybody from State Board of Accounts to answer the phone when I call. But I was also told if we have the
The schedule,
I can't say that word. If we have that, we send it to Judy with the DLGF, and she puts it into our budget for next year.
right,
I don't wanna tell Tony, yep, it's good to go. We'll take it July 1st or whatever, and then come January 1st, that money's not there.
Where's that money, what comes out of the ambulance just to pay the ambulance budget?
The ambulance budget is pay, supplies, and ALS fees, which are getting rapidly low.
But we use it for pay.
There's a line item for pay in the ambulance budget.
but it's specific to the 8 to 5 5 shift,
See, there's where I was going.
yes.
Is there any way we can look at that in the near future, changing that to getting longer hours? To get the truck out the
I
door?
don't know how,
You know, using that, if we got that money, using that money to get more,
So,
because we're not getting the truck out the doors, and that's a liability.
yes,
to an extent, yes.
so unfortunately, it's government's money, regardless of how we acquire it.
Yes.
It is still the government's money, and they get to dictate how much we can increase our budget, and
Mhm.
typically it's 1%. So, next year, if we increase it 1%, then that's all we
But
can.
how much money, we're doing well in the ambulance budget, right, on billing?
Yes, but that doesn't mean that you can spend that money.
No, I mean, we have to have it appropriated, right?
You would have to ask for an additional appropriation.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I knew there was something else I
I
wanted.
think we need to look into that. I mean,
Well, and it's gonna change over time, so you can't just appropriate it.
And then once money is appropriated, you can't reduce it, like if there was some sort of need and you needed to cut back on your budget, you can't. So once the money is appropriated, you can't go backwards.
Yeah, so for ambulance billing, since you brought that up, for the month of April, we billed out $26,884, and we received $10,385.90.
so far.
That was for April 1st, April 30th.
And then how much of that
Bill
went
and
to
receipt.
ALS, do we know?
And each one of them now is, Ellick and Anderson are both $300 for an ALS fee, and East Madison's $275, which I would say by the end of the year, they'll be $300 also. Just because they're not gonna make less money than the other two.
Well, Clayton, you've been doing a good job trying to get everything, you know, lately you've stepped up on that, trying to get the coverage.
I try.
Well, but,
Well, I think that's making a huge difference, because hoping that the
Before it was
ones
just
that are
hanging.
scared to jump in there, it'll save them.
yeah,
So, I mean,
a lot
if I
of,
can
a lot of times it was just
be a
hanging,
third,
and you're doing a lot of rounds, thank you.
but
I sign up every month, 50 hours. Sometimes I get calls and sometimes I don't.
I have not ran a call here in weeks. They just don't have a line here.
We liked that when I was doing it.
you know,
It only
Yeah.
seemed like it happened when
Yes.
we needed to order pizza or something.
so that's all I have on my list that I can think about. If anybody wants to look at that, there's that, but.
So yes, I agree, getting the truck out the door is an issue, but there's, you know, you can pay for people to do it, or you can ask your volunteers to
Step up.
step up. There's 2 ways to go about it.
And they do get paid at the end of the year on it. They just don't look at the big picture that
Every
they're
run
still
they
getting,
come in
they're still
on.
getting paid.
Well, I hate that idea that Edgewood's in with us, and we seem to cover, or don't cover Edgewood as much as they cover us.
We don't.
And I'm afraid they're gonna pull out of that and say, you know, you're not getting a truck, and we can't get a truck out, you're still not getting a truck out to go cover us, but they do seem to get a truck out to cover,
That's why I was asking if they still wanted an ambulance, cause I feel like,
we'll just give it to them.
well, give it or it's dirt cheap, because we don't need 2 of them, and they've done a lot for us for nothing.
And I hope that continues, but I'm afraid when you look at, they start looking at their budget, they're gonna pull the plug on that and say, well, we
Well,
can't.
what they're spending in fuel is,
That's what I mean, when they look at, I mean, they've done, it was a smart idea, it's just we gotta keep up our end of the deal.
it was a smart idea for Lafayette.
Yeah. But,
Well, they do get a wider range of calls instead of just lift assist or whatever, but
Yeah.
still,
do they get the billing on that when they get the,
if they
when they get,
transport.
if they transport? Well,
We've tried to make that, you know, if we get, and I've told them in a meeting, if we're getting second, third dispatch and they're already there to go, fine, but let them transport it. They need to start supplementing their income for what they're spending
we
out.
need to send something in like a thank you.
don't know. I mean,
Yeah, like a thank you card that says we appreciate your, or a letter or something, tell them how much we, cause that always makes things nicer when they
Yeah.
acknowledge that they are helping us.
Michael bought him pizza in December.
That was nice.
But,
Is Dale still?
Yes.
They did do a ride
Dale is.
3 weeks in?
Did you know that Dale is,
2 weeks ago.
Dale is his brother-in-law?
Yeah, I think we talked about that. They did a motorcycle ride, we were their first stop, we supplied donuts and water, they were here probably 20 minutes, maybe 30. I wandered around, and they took off and went to Somerville, I think, from there. Then they're doing a golf outing coming up, and then
When is
the
ours?
firework crew people are doing
Yeah, when is, oh, that's for the fireworks, and
They're
thirty,
all
so we don't have anything to do with that.
I think ours is the 31st.
here or there.
Here, sorry.
They're
I have no
doing
idea.
2 golf outings, so anybody's interested in golf,
I love to play golf.
no things.
I used to love it. You don't have to be good, you just gotta have fun.
I could come up with something else to waste 4 hours of my time.
Or it's fun.
Would you like to play?
Oh, I
Never
love it,
have.
I love it.
Putt-putt.
I played golf a few times, and one time, I finished the game with the ball I started with. One time.
You know how amazing that is?
You're saying it's pretty expensive.
You play at Ewell,
It is
No,
expensive.
I'm gonna say, cause Ewell,
We're over Hamilton County.
that's why you take your kids with you, and they go dig in there and get the balls out of little
Go to the
ponds.
places you're not supposed to.
Well,
That's all I got. I don't, anybody have any questions or?
I don't.
Well, that, you threw me a curve when you're talking about all that.
Yeah,
It's only beginning, and
Yeah, I think so, because I don't do an interview. Nine out of 10 come in here and their electric gets shut off tomorrow, even though you tell them that you're within 24 hours and there's nothing we can do to help you. And I've still done backflips to make sure everybody's not gotten shut off.
there has to be something.
I'm at a loss. I have one now
This is
that's for
I mean,
Frank,
this
that's
is-
gonna be
you
shut
were-
off the 15th, and I just got it yesterday.
You mean, you dropped some bombs on us, but man, you talk about, there's a time to.
So I know Salvation Army, the one church in Frankton, can't think of the church in Anderson. But now the ones in Frankton, self-help and stuff like that have all told their people, well, you have to go to trustee first. And if he can't help you with all of it, then come to me.
Well, they forced your hand.
Yeah, now you can't refuse us.
Right, so now I go,
I don't
I'm still.
understand why they did it, where they can't say that you can't budget, they make it where you can't, how can you budget? How can you make a
Well,
budget?
and that's the problem I have here is, you need help with electric, but you waited till your 3rd month bill is, now if it's $500 or $5,000,
You
that's
gotta
the
pay.
amount has to be paid or it gets disconnected. And
Corey, I'd like you to call some other trustees, just Marion or some of them, maybe they got some, like, you guys together.
well, I don't know, I didn't recognize anybody there. I know the woman that runs the one at Delville, and I can't think of the township over there. I'm gonna reach out to her.
Salem.
Yeah.
It is, because that's their fire.
I don't know what that's gonna do to my crew, because they're not gonna be able to do the $200 anymore. I do know that Marion doesn't do a whole lot with it, that everything's done already for her, so. That was the only class, and they only require us to go once every 2 years, so if they went last year, now they can
They're
get
not-
us new information.
Yeah, they're not getting that in.
So.
Yeah, boy, they better send somebody, cause.
Yeah, so now that kinda scares me, is, okay, maybe I need to make sure I'm at every one.
Yeah.
If they're gonna drop bombs like that,
you miss
you're not gonna know, cause they don't send that out unless you just happen to find that. The training's on the ITA website. If you don't get on there and start searching for it, you don't know. But then you're talking pages.
Sometimes you go to those meetings and it's the same old thing that they do
Yeah.
every time, and then next time it might be a lot of new information.
Yeah, this one, I think 100% of this was all new. It was not stuff we learned 2 years ago. And I went to a different one last year that was totally different, so.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion we adjourn from the meeting.
A second.
Have a motion in a second. All in favor?
Aye.
We opposed?
Wow, Corey, I'm glad I'm not here.
I don't know if I'm gonna get home so I can get ready to watch the ball game.
It's in on fourth, start raining.
What ball game?
It's all right.
It looks like it's getting dark.
What ball game do you want?
Pacers.
I couldn't even tell you only one person on that team anymore. I just can't watch NBA. They get paid all that money and they can't make shots.
The Pacers
They
game.
did. Big guy didn't see
I need to go for another.
Oh,
I thought this was.
maybe I
late.
should watch
Nope.
it tonight. What's the?
No, don't watch it, 'cause they might lose.
Yeah.
Oh, you think I'm jinxing?
You don't watch, you might bring them back.
What? It was over there, I just figured it was yours.
Nope.
Oh, wait a minute, that's mine.
Hey, see, are we meeting
Bye.
next month? Same time, same place?
I think we better.
Up to you guys.
What do you think? I mean,
I don't have any problem with it, whatever you
We'll
guys
have to
do.
do July's because of the budget.
Yeah.
we'll have
And
to,
then it has to be, doesn't it have to be signed and over by August, in August, so
the ambulance is already approved, so.
we'll have to do July and August for sure.
It don't make any difference to me, whatever you guys want.
July.
I'm here 3 or 4 days a week anyway, so,
You wanna wait till July? Okay.
sounds
We
good.
have to.
Okay.
Thank you.
See y'all
Be
later.
careful.
Bye.
Alrighty.
Well,
Well, I mean, this is really it. I mean, this is almost unsustainable.
Well, that's it,
And the word's gonna get out, I mean, it'll get out.
well, it's gonna take the 2 or 3 that you've got for assistance, well, I don't have a bank account, well, then you don't qualify.
Yeah. And that's the other thing, he and I will get very creative and we will get our new township assistant standards put together.
Yes.
And, we'll put some creative wording in there. Some of the things that they suggested too is like, when he looks at their bank statements, and even if they're doing everything right, you're gonna pay your rent first, you're gonna pay your utilities, and then you're gonna pay your credit cards. And if you can't pay all of your credit cards, then you're just gonna have a late fee, because that's not an essential.
Right. Well, and